on, Sudama?
Yes, sister. Yes, we can start. It's already 6. Yes, sister.
A very good evening to all. I am Sister Latha, Assistant Professor, St. Joseph's College for Women Autonomous, Visakhapatnam. I deem it a privilege to be part of this great institution, which caters to the needs and works towards the upliftment of young women. I, on behalf of Dr. Sister Shaidia, our Principal, St. Joseph's College for Women Autonomous, Visakhapatnam, and on behalf of the Department of English, St. Joseph's College for Women Autonomous, Visakhapatnam, take this opportunity to welcome you all for a one-week online international faculty development program conducted in collaboration with English Language Teachers Association of India, Visakhapatnam chapter. We deem it an honor to work with Language Teachers Association of India. First of all, I extend a warm welcome to all the respected members of English Language Teachers Association of India. I express my special welcome to our honored guest speaker, Dr. T. Sunitha, Assistant Professor, IIM Vizag, and our other honored speakers of the whole week. I also extend an inclusive welcome to all the participants and to my dear colleagues at St. Joseph's. Hearty welcome to you all. I'm sure many of you have made a huge effort to be part of this program. Thank you for joining us today. Let us begin our program with our college prayer song. I invite Ms. Ramani Dhanraj, Head the Department of Office Management and the Public Relations Officer, St. Joseph's College for Women Autonomous, Visakhapatnam, to play the sound.
Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let your love increase. Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Walls of pride and prejudice shall cease. When we are your instruments of peace.
Thank you, ma'am. I now invite a very eminent personality, Dr. Raghavendra, President, English Language Teachers Association, India, to address the gathering. Over to Dr. Raghavendra.
Thank you, madam. Honorable Principal, St. Joseph's College for Women, Head of the Department of English, Dr. Nalini Datta, today's speakers, and my dear friends. Good evening, everybody. English Language Teachers Association of India, Visakhapatnam chapter has been organizing very impactful events for students, research scholars, and English teachers. It has been following the footsteps of ELTAI National Committee. We are always glad to collaborate with the Department of English, St. Joseph's College for Women. Whatever they do with perfection. Whatever they do professionally. I thank Dr. Bash Prasuda for this collaboration. In the coming days also, will collaborate with the Department of English. Coming to the FDP, as we have very eminent speakers, as the topics are highly relevant to the present day. I'm certain to say the participants will have some real learning experiences. So I Heartily welcome all the participants to the FDP trends and trend setting in the mid 21st century. Thank you. Thank you one and all.
Thank you very much, sir, for your heart-touching and encouraging words. We are indeed happy to collaborate with you all. I now call upon Dr. Bhaskar Sudha, Head the Department of English, St. Joseph's College for Women Autonomous, the efficient lady and the coordinator of the FDP program, to present the rationale.
Thank you, sister. So, can you all hear me, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you, sister. So today's FDP on the rationale behind this FDP is to give all teachers an opportunity to reflect on the trends that are happening in the field of ELT today. And now, where the time has come to set new trends to change, emancipate, and innovate for inclusivity, speed, and quality of learning. Hence the title, Trends and Trend Setting in the Mid-21st Century. There is certainly a need for change, and therefore innovation finds pride of place in the very first session of this program. In the world ridden by manifold distractions, especially in online learning, students are increasingly recorded low attention and concentration levels, both of which are essential for knowledge retention and better learning outcomes. In such a scenario, it is of utmost urgency and necessity for teachers to bring into their classroom methods that hold and capture the attention of the students. This is where digital teaching and learning has its relevance. To this end, both teachers and students should overcome the fear of technology, and in conscience with this teacher should be open to need to learn to develop e-content. Teachers can be creative with the digital platform, and digital tools can be very useful in rejuvenating the English language classroom. Therefore, digital teaching and learning and developing the e-content both find a place in this program. English proficiency is a key factor for employment success and advancement in life, and in today's globalized world, English language is an important as the other core subject of the curriculum designed for schools and colleges. Students should be able to use the English language, communicate efficiently and effectively, and it has become a basic skill needed in any field of employment. So, teachers have to find interesting ways to teach all the 4 skills of the language. Young teachers themselves need to work on their writing skills, as now the HRD ministry has made it mandatory for new recruitees into colleges and institutions of higher learning to have published research articles and to have a doctoral degree as well. Our session on day 5 will focus on research writing. Last but certainly not the least, we cannot overemphasize the role of reflection among teachers. Reflection involves how to become more engaging teachers by learning from our students, colleagues, and our own teaching methodologies, and also our environment. It helps us to learn from our experiences and consequently to perform productively in our classroom. To create better future, reflective teaching is a means of professional development which begins in our own classroom, and therefore a session on reflective teaching and learning is also part of this program. Hope this FDP would bring a resourceful insight and gaining enrichment in all the key areas where a teacher requires for his or her learning teaching experience. I now hand over to Sister Lata, who would be the moderator for this session, and she will introduce the speaker for to the virtual audience. Thank you. Over to Sister Lata.
Thank you, ma'am. So, dear participants, the topic for today is innovation, looking back in order to move forward. And our speaker is Dr. T. Sunitha, Assistant Professor, IIM Vizag. Dr. Sunitha is a renowned speaker. She has an MA in Teaching English as a Second Language and a PhD in English Language Education from the English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad, Her PhD thesis was titled Effect of Explicit Instruction of Formulaic Sequences on the Oral Fluency of Young ESL Learners. Her additional degrees and certifications include MPhil in English Language Education from IFLU, Hyderabad, Master of Arts in Linguistics from Annamalai University, distant mode. She is qualified for the UGC NET for Assistant Professorship in Linguistics in September 2015. She also holds certificates for a 6-week course on English in Early Childhood Language Learning and Development offered by the British Council on Future Learn and a 4-week course on Teaching English Online offered by Cambridge Assessment English on Future Learn. Her efficiency extended in publications too. She published a paper in the International Journal of English, Literature, Language and Skills titled Story as a Vehicle, Teaching Vocabulary to Young ESL Learners. She presented papers at the 3rd International ELT Conference conducted by US Embassy Relo and Amity University Lucknow campus and at a 2-day international conference on creativity in writing organized by IFLU Hyderabad. We are indeed honored to have you, Dr. T. Sunitha. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Just a few reminders before handing over to Dr. T. Sunitha. Dear participant, same Zoom link can be used for all the 6 days. Attendance cum feedback from form will be posted every day at the end of each session in the chat box during the Zoom meet only. So thank you. And now over to Dr. T. Sunitha.
Thank you, Sister Nirmala.
Just a word, Sunitha, from the PRO. In fact, if I find a lot of noise, I will just exercise my mute all and please unmute and speak. Sunitha. Thank you.
Sure. Dear teachers and respected faculty members from St. Joseph's College, thank you for this invitation. So during this discussion, rather than talk, I would like to call it a discussion as a faculty member at IIM Visakhapatnam and somebody who has been trained to teach English as a second language. I'll be presenting some of my learnings and my thoughts in this continuum of innovations which doesn't seem to stop. And I'm somewhere on the continuum and not talking to you or discussing with you as somebody who has reached the end of the continuum. So let me quickly share my screen. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
No, Dr. Sunitha, we can't see. We just see the desktop screen is there, but
Okay.
not the presentation.
Can you see it now?
Yeah. Now
Yeah,
we can. Yes.
Right. So in this discussion, I will be talking about the different language teaching methods and what were the different innovations that came our way, and how in the context of the pandemic, different innovations were introduced to us language teachers. So here is a quick overview of what the presentation is going to involve. So for about the next 40 minutes or so, I will be discussing what is innovation and why is it relevant, and why does it continue to be a relevant component. Everybody talks about innovation, sustainability, sustainable innovation, technovation, and things like that. So why is it becoming so important? And I'll also be, like I said, looking at the different language teaching methods and what were the different areas and process of innovation that we were introduced to, and then move on to the way forward after having looked back. What are the innovations that changed English language teaching? So during the course of these different sections of components of my talk, I will be introducing you to some of the resources or links and examples of some applications that I use in order to make my classes more engaging. Because at the outset, I would like to express my belief that I do not subscribe to the idea that technology is innovation, but technology helps us to become to be more innovative. So we'll discuss more on that aspect as we progress. And at the same time, I also believe that plus or minus technology, what we do have, what we as teachers need is engagement. So whether that is with technology or without technology is a secondary component. So let me begin by inviting you to use the chat box and comment on what is your understanding of innovation? What does innovation mean to you? Yes. Like all teachers keep saying, I want this session to be interactive. If I may request you, or in yes, there I see some responses. New ideas, new methods, okay. Something that was not available. Any novel ideas, revolution. Something that was not available earlier. Include new ideas, so an outrageous outlook. Okay, is that innovation or invention? Necessity. Right, thank you for those responses. Yes, so innovation can be broadly thought of, like most of you have used the word new thoughts, ideas, and ways. New ideas and new ways of looking at things, new methods, or products that have some value. So innovation contains the idea of output, of actually producing or doing something differently, making something happen for that matter, or implementing something that is really new. So innovation almost always, and I'm sure all of you will agree, involves hard work, persistence, and perseverance. So if I were to distinguish, or if we were to understand the difference between creativity, creativity is the active process necessarily involved in innovation. So it is a learning habit that requires skills, as well as specific understanding of the different contexts in which this creativity is being applied. So the creative process leads to the innovative output. So, and let me quote one of the yes, let me quote the difference between knowledge and wisdom. So in this context of innovation. So I heard someone say that he is particularly very thankful to his teachers for sharing a lot of wisdom, knowledge, and as he grew up as a language learner. And the primary distinction was between knowledge and wisdom was that knowledge is knowing that tomato is a fruit. Wisdom, on the other hand, is knowing that it should not be added in fruit salad. In that context, what is innovation for the tomato? Yes. Does that mean yes? Anybody would like to respond? If knowledge is knowing tomato is a fruit and wisdom is knowing not to add it in fruit salad, what can be innovation in that context, in the context of the tomato?
Hello, madam. Is it discriminative?
Discrimination.
Discriminating power?
Doing things in a different manner. So
Yes. It is lateral thinking.
Lateral thinking in the context of using the tomato.
Yes. Lateral thinking means here how to, what not to.
Okay. Possibly, could it be using tomato for medical or medicinal purposes?
Yes.
Possibly. Yeah. So the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary defines innovation as a new idea, way of doing something, etc., that has been introduced or discovered. So on that note, now that we fairly have know the distinction between innovation, the product, and creativity as the process, let's try to understand why innovation. So can you tell me what this picture is all about? What is this picture? The printing press, absolutely. Yes, our world has always been in a race between technology on the one hand and education on the other. So usually these go hand in hand. However, there have been points in history where technology races so far ahead that education can barely keep up the pace. So a quick historic example is that of the 15th century example of the printing press, for that matter, allowing to print books at much cheaper than ever before rates that were applicable. However, unfortunately, there was a really small fraction of the entire population who knew how to read, ultimately leading to massive social conflicts and inequality, until at some point in time, the whole educational system was revolutionized in such a way that the first universities and schools were born. And this trend of first technology racing ahead and then education trying to keep up pace has at several points in history led to social pain and inequality. So if we have to jump back to our current scenario, we've invented new powerful technology called digitalization. So every day we can now see how smartphones or internet or how artificial intelligence, for that matter, has changed our jobs, robbed someone of their jobs, and at times also our private lives. So a recent study by McKinsey predicts that the next 10 years, all work activities could completely be replaced by automation. So today, the algorithms that we built are able to predict what are the different technologies or what are the different softwares or the way that we are going to communicate in the near future. So as with the historical examples, there's an increasing gap between those who design this kind of change and those who need to catch up, or the skills that are being expected from us to catch up. So it's very difficult for me to tell or predict, for that matter, what will be the skill sets that will be required from me as a language teacher. It's very difficult to predict that. And if we continue to subscribe to the one-size-fits-all teaching philosophy, then it may cause problems, something that has been made evident to us with the advent of with the pandemic taking advantage of several of our comforts that we have to give up. So here are some numbers that I would like to present to you, and I would like you to tell me what these can be, what these numbers could be representative of. Here is the first one. So the context is, in the context of millennials and Gen Z, can you tell me what these numbers could indicate? 100? 100 texts per day? Not really. Police, in the context of millennials and Gen Z? It's not the text, not the police. Marks, percentage, no. Anything else? 100 likes or dislikes? Not really. Full? Binary digits, that could be 1, 0. Value, trials, attempts. Okay. 100 could be the life expectancy as predicted by the HuffPost. Millennials being ready, completeness. Okay. Yes.
Population, ma'am?
100 is the number of years the millennials or Gen Z are being predicted to live for, the duration, their life expectancy. Here is another number. 5. What could this be? What could be 5? Not really. 5 directions, Panchabhuta, senses, elements. 5 for millennials and Gen Z. 5 senses. What could 5 be? Elements, 90, no.
5 things that millennials look for in a job.
Somewhere pretty close. Careers. The Forbes magazine predicts that 5 careers is what millennials could switch. And for the number of years that they stay or they are part of an organization, it's predicted that they actually on an average stay for about 4 years, which could mean 10 to 15 careers that they could switch. And the last number, 3.
Country is
That is country was unified from that is the country was unified
Yes.
from
What could be 3?
point of view, political and economic point of view.
Yes. 3. Okay. Take one response. Options. What kind of options? 3 stages of life, something close to life, stages of life. 3 ways, gunas. Well, that 3 could be the places we could possibly live on. So if you read up on some of the research, particularly that Elon Musk is involved in, yes, 1 million humans could live on Mars by the 2060s. So 3 places possibly that the millennials could live on. So there is all predictions that we are about to lose this race between technology and education as we teach. And it has shown dramatic shifts, particularly in the context of the different kinds of learning contexts that we have been exposed to. So if I were to ask you in terms of your skills, in terms of upgrading your skills in particular, in the context of blended learning, personalization, and learning communities, what do you think can be the skills that are expected from you as English teachers? I repeat my question. So, in the context of blended learning, personalization, where we are considering each learner to be an individual with different learning styles, different learning styles, different learning preferences, strategies of learning. What are the skills that can be expected from you as teachers? Variation and diversity. In terms of skills, what are the skills? Flexibility. Okay. I'm sure some of you must have tried making e-content, use of technology. Okay.
Tech savvy.
Tech savvy. Okay. Creativity. Adaptability. Yes. So as we understand, patience, edutainment, right? We have innovation. Yes. Thank you for those responses. Right. So in the context of personalization in particular, the question that I often keep thinking about is, why is it that, our society in particular spends millions and millions of rupees in researching these personalization algorithms at services, for example, Amazon, that this was in news, and Spotify for that matter, but close to nothing in personalization, particularly in learning opportunities in education. And we have completely failed to use these personalization techniques in education at par with what Amazon or Spotify, for that matter, do with these personalization algorithms, for that matter. And I'll come back to this topic. So if we were to look back at the different approaches and methods to teach English language, various methods have been developed, and some of them have proved to be extremely influential at different points in time. Prabhu 1995, for that matter, lists quite a few: the classical scholastic procedures, the grammar translation method, the direct method, structural method, the communicative language teaching, reading methods, task-based language teaching, etc. So these teaching methods have been tried and evaluated. Some of them have been praised, some of them have been adopted and then rejected to try new methods, and they have promised to be quite successful in terms of the different language teaching contexts that were presented to different teachers. So I'm not going to be talking about each of these methods, approaches and methods. Riches and Rogers compared and evaluated these methods, and it's quite interesting how he suggests that it is up to the teacher whichever method suits their learners in their learning context. The teacher is free to go ahead and use that method. So then we talked about the different eclectic approach and the post-method era. So what I will be talking about now are the different areas and process of innovation, particularly in terms of the classroom, teacher, learner, the learning materials, delivery methods, and assessment. I'm sure all of you will agree that the global pandemic has forced all language teachers, regardless of whether you liked teaching online or whether you did not like teaching online, to convert their face-to-face courses into online versions of crisis teaching. So despite being a crisis, what is interesting, or the positive or the brighter side of it, is that it has opened opportunities for language educators and researchers to identify different new ways of evaluating, improving, and also revamping the current practices. So what I will be discussing next is the process of innovation vis-a-vis the different areas where innovation has been taking place, particularly in the context of English language education. So the process of innovation as adapted by Kalanzi and co.
Ma'am, you are muted, ma'am. Sunitha, ma'am.
It's not audible, ma'am.
You're muted, ma'am. You're.
Okay.
Please, can you unmute?
Can
Yes.
you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So
Noise, and I had to mute everyone, Sunitha. I was in turn individually muting, but a lot of people, so I had to mute all. Please check whether you're just saying it sometimes. Right?
Yes.
Thank you.
So if you were to look at the comparison between the traditional, the contemporary, and the emergent processes of innovation that have been put together by Kalanzis and co, I would like to invite you to take a look at this table, and with particular focus on the emergent or the C category. So what is interesting is each category influences the design of innovation models and different types of education system, the didactic, the authentic, and the transformative. And they can in turn be linked to the three developmental categories of social development. So thus, the traditional category and its educational corollary, for that matter, the didactic, reflect a mechanistic view of social development and a teacher-controlled view of learning. The contemporary and the authentic categories are more communicative and autonomous approaches, and the emergent or the transformative categories, the third category here, the C1, shows how you view society as inherently complex with a greater interest in micro agency and collaboration. So on that note, here's another table which presents, adapted from, again, Clancy's and co. The content of such tables can be useful guidelines for us for any innovation that we are trying to situate in our context. If current practice in particular indicates rational, centralized, top-down process. The traditional stage, A, and the innovation has its aim, the promotion of collaborative, participative microcultures. What is interesting to note is that no model, for that matter, can capture the reality, the complexity, and at times the change, its messiness, and its unpredictability. And since change is context specific, models should be developed and used in conjunction with the ongoing fact-finding research. So let's look at the first dimension that I was referring to, the classroom. Right. So we have the virtual classrooms, breakout rooms, different online platforms. To that end, the HRD Ministry's e-learning platforms have been accessed 5 times more during the COVID-19 pandemic. So the national online education platform, Swayam for that matter, has been accessed nearly 2.5 lakh times till this report was generated, the 10th of April 2020. Also, amid the COVID-19 pandemic, demand for e-learning in particular on government was seen to be really high. So COVID is, quoting from this particular report, COVID is one of the major reasons for this growth that would have otherwise taken a decade has now been achieved in 2 years, said Ram Gopal Rao, director of IIT Delhi. Another report on the transformative nature of classrooms that was identified during the COVID-19 pandemic, Amit Khare, Secretary of Higher Education in the Education Ministry, credited the new education policy with facilitating, which has actually facilitated the rapid growth in online learning. So he said that though COVID has hastened the pace, ultimately it is the new national education policy which facilitated the development, particularly the first step being allowed for up to 40% of credit via online courses, followed by UGC, allowing about 100 top universities to offer full online degree programs. Soon, students will be, I'm sure all of you agree with this, able to take any course from their choice of institutions, earn and deposit credits, and complete their degrees. The different digital education initiatives by Government of India, some of them which were not known before the pandemic also became quite evident to different learners, teachers, and users of digital platform. Can you name some of them? The digital education initiatives apart from Swayam and Swayam Prabha?
Coursera.
Digital education initiatives by Government of India. Yeah, by Government of India.
MOOC, madam.
Isn't Swayam
MOOCs, MOOC, MOOC.
E-Pathshala.
E-Pathshala, yes.
MOOC, madam.
Okay, digital education, NDLI. The government initiatives. Yes, massive online open courses, which again, Swayam is. NPTEL.
NPTEL.
Yeah. Yes, NPTEL.
NPTEL.
Okay, Coursera, Udemy, we have the not the ones which the government of e-Vidya program. Have you heard about this Diksha app?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And Swayam Prabha, which is a group of 34 D2H channels dedicated to broadcasting educational programs. Diksha in particular, a national portal for school education that was launched in the year 2017. Right. So then
Shodhganga is for thesis and all.
For thesis.
yes. Right.
Researcher
So,
gate also. Researcher gate.
ResearchGate. Okay. Yes. Yes. The different platforms where we can come together to share best practices in research and collaborate. Yes. Okay. Right. So let me quickly move to the next dimension, teacher. So particularly in the context of teachers, we have seen a lot of innovations through teacher education programs, innovations through action research and teacher initiated change, and reflective teaching itself as innovation. So let me quickly talk about each of these in short, in not so much detail. So yes, so when we talk about innovation through teacher education programs, there has always been this disjuncture where teachers' everyday concepts, what they learn before coming to the teacher education program, and what they are exposed to, the different scientific concepts, that remains a major challenge for second language teacher education programs today. So the innovation in that context was to extend extend the concept of team teaching project itself, where it was required to make about 3 to 4 novice teachers enrolled in, let's say, the 15-week TESOL courses, go through the classroom observation phase, the tutoring assignment, collaborative lesson planning, where different pre-service teachers come together and plan a lesson, pre-practice teach it, practice team teach it, and then based on the feedback received on the initial draft of the lesson plan, post the first trial, collaborative lesson planning and post-practice teaching, and after this stage where they actually team teach, and then team simulated recall session, they watch the video recorded actual teaching. And team teaching post this is followed by a reflection paper that needs to be submitted. So to that end, to a large extent, the teacher education programs in particular have tried to bring in the aspect of collaboration. The second one, innovation through action research and teacher-initiated change. So at the heart of the claims for action research is the notion of innovation and renewal through systematic methodological approach that brings teacher, the classroom, the action research, reflection, and all of them together. And finally, reflective teaching as innovation. So Kelly, 1980 in particular, says that there are 3 different conditions that need to be kept in mind when we are talking about innovation, reflective teaching as innovation. The first one being feasibility. Can the innovation actually be implemented in the context? 2, acceptability. Does the innovation match the teacher's style and philosophy? And 3, relevance. Does the innovation match the students' needs and improve their education? So, my question to you is, how did you learn teaching online? Yes, this is my question. How did you learn to teach online?
Ma'am, we have been trained by our college. Like we are teaching, yes, ma'am, we are teaching on MS Teams.
Okay.
So they have given us training, and other than that, using the PPTs and all that we learned ourselves.
That we learn ourselves. Okay, yes. That's an interesting answer.
Yes.
Okay, someone says trial and error after receiving basic training. Self-learning, okay. What else? During the pandemic, trial and error after receiving basic training, okay. YouTube videos through observation, compulsion, need. Practice, workshops. First, self-learning after attending a workshop, interest. Okay, yes, I get this response again. Necessity is the mother of invention. Right. Without much difficulty, innovative learning, Velo India, British Council training. Okay. Right. More often than not, there has been this trial and error. Forced to teach online, there is no option. You need to go online and teach, which in most cases, which is true in most cases. Friendly teaching by learning online platforms like Zoom, Google Classroom, etc. Right. So some of my learnings on online teaching came from a particular course that I was introduced to. Again, a MOOC. And yes. So this was the course that is available on Future Learn. Again, no promotions of any course, and I'm not being paid for this, but sharing my personal journey or my personal story of how I went about picking, learning the ropes, if I can put it that way. Yes, can you see my screen?
We can see the PPT, madam.
You can see the PPT. Okay, just a moment. Okay. Can you?
You can see, ma'am.
Okay. So this is the course that I was referring to, Teaching English Online by Cambridge Assessment English, and it shows upgraded because I wanted the certificate because of which I paid. Else it is a free course. You don't have to pay anything for this. What is interesting about this course is for the different language skills, you're introduced to the different applications that are available, the different platforms that are available for you to teach English online, to make that transition from the face-to-face classroom to teaching online. And these are skill specific. So for each of the different weeks, for that matter, you have for listening skills, for reading skills, and it also has different assessment components, which I found to be really useful. And I think there are more than 1 lakh, if I'm not wrong, participants who have registered for courses like this. And like I said, as long as you do not require a certificate, this course is completely free. And I found it really useful, particularly in terms of getting to know the different trends and trend setting, like the title of this FTP. What are the different trends? What are the different applications that are available for teaching English online? So I'll just drop the link in the chat box. So moving on, I think I lost the PPT. Just get back. Okay, can you see the presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. The next dimension that I'm going to be talking about is the learning materials. So traditionally, commercially published courses seem to continue to dominate the conventionally the PPP, the present practice and produce approach to teach predetermined language and skill points. So they are innovative, no doubt about it, although their use of blended deliveries which combine paper-based components with the electronic component, which offer rich opportunities for independent follow-up to work that is done with a teacher in the classroom. All of that is there. On the other hand, we also have the institutional and Ministry of Education projects, which are often conventional in that they rely more on the paper-based delivery, but tend to be innovative in that they oftentimes reject the PPP pedagogy in favor of more principled, text-driven, task-based or process-based approaches. So, in that context, the different learning materials that are available, I would like to share with you what I came across and to be useful. Sensationsenglish.com, where let's share my. Just give me a moment. Give me a moment, I log. Okay, so here's another resource where you can find news-based learning English opportunities. The curiosities are list. One particular one on. So there are different categories in which news is has been placed on in this particular link, and there's one on innovation. Of the robot. Just a moment. Okay, let me just see if I can access this particular malaria vaccine changing children's lives. So you have the news-based, a video-based interactive games, and then different activities that you can get the learners to work with. All of these learning materials pre-designed. So you can also select the different levels at which your learners are, and based on that, allocate activities and tasks for your learners. And you also get the print transcript in case there are problems in following this different accents. So I would suggest, I would recommend that you explore this option. I found it really useful because of the different activities and the different games that are already part of, and learners for sure have the opportunity to be more motivated to solve some of the puzzles and things like that. So moving on. The different delivery methods. So the norm, as indicated, the pedagogic norm has been still the presentation, practice, and production, an approach that is very convenient for administrators and also teachers because it enables the a discrete teaching point to be taught, to be practiced, and later produced within one single unit. So it has focused on the systematic way of providing and facilitating short-term learning. Unfortunately, it is unprincipled in that it does not meet any of the prerequisites for long-term learning acquisition, as noted by Tomlinson 2010. So it does not provide the learner with the sufficient exposure to the language for future use, and it does not create a psychological need for acquisition. So the innovation in that context, and as quoted here, there are teachers who begin every lesson with a performance of potentially engaging poem, a story, an anecdote, a dramatic scene, a song, or item from the news. So what I would like to show you in this context is another portal. Let me just, I don't think that will require me to sign in. Just give me a moment. Let's see. Let me see if I can play the audio. Just a moment. Right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, madam, we're able to see the screen.
Okay. So this is another useful resource, particularly for my love for stories and working in the domain of using stories for language learning. So let me just play this for you. Okay, are you able to hear the audio too? Can someone please confirm?
No, ma'am,
No, we
cannot
can't hear. We can't hear you.
Okay.
audio.
You can't hear the audio. Okay. Let me just try that again.
I'm Cynthia Erivo.
Did you hear that?
Yes, ma'am, it's audible.
It's audible. Okay. Okay.
Welcome to Storyline Online, brought to you by the SAG-AFTRA Foundation. I'm Cynthia Erivo, and today I'm going to read Remember to Dream Ebere, written by me and illustrated by Chanel Pinckney Barlow. When it was time to go to sleep, Ebere's mother always kissed her on the cheek and said, "Remember to dream, my love." And when it was time to go to sleep, Ebere usually had a hard time staying asleep. She often crept out of bed and went looking for her mother. "Mummy," she said one night, "I had the most amazing dream. I dreamed of a rocket ship." "Oh my, how big was this rocket ship?" "I don't know," said Ebere. "You better go back and dream some more." And she did. "Mummy, the rocket ship is as big as 2 houses," Ebere exclaimed. "That's wonderful. And what color is the rocket ship?" "I don't know," said Ebere. "Go back and dream, my love." And she did. "Mummy, the rocket ship, it's as big as 2 houses and as red as a fire engine." "That sounds wonderful. Does the rocket ship have a name?" "I don't know," said Ebere. "Go back and dream some more, my love." And dream it in the biggest letters ever. And she did. The rocket ship is as big as 2 houses and as red as a fire engine, and it's called the Light Chaser. That is a beautiful name, my love. It would be a shame for such a beautifully named rocket ship to have no captain. Who is the captain of the ship? "I don't know, Mummy. I'd better go dream some more." Great idea. "Mummy, I dreamed again, and guess what? I am the captain of the ship. I can go anywhere in the universe. My love, you are the captain of all your dreams, and I want you to have as many dreams as you can. Just remember to always dream them as big as 2 houses, as bright as fire engine red, and as bold as the name, the Light Chaser." Remember to Dream Ebere is a gift from me, a self-professed dreamer, to you. You whose imagination deserves to fly and soar. You who should be taught to dream dreams bigger than you can contain. This little book is to celebrate you. I wrote it.
Okay. So another resource that I found to be really interesting, particularly in contexts where you want to read to students or students of different levels for that matter. I'll just type in the link to, sorry, I think I typed it to, let me just get the link again. There you go. Right. So this is another resource I found to be extremely useful for teachers, wherein you also get to the teacher's guide as to how to go about using this particular. Can you still see my screen?
No, ma'am, we cannot.
Okay. Is it any better? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So this was the link that I had shared with you in the chat box, and you also have the option of different activities that can be conducted as part of the classroom teaching learning process. The different reading, writing activities that are pre-designed, and for what levels, what are the different materials that you need in this context, mass, rulers, and different realia that can be brought into the language classroom. And just for that change where you get somebody else to read the story to your students. So that was on the delivery of methods. What are the different what was the norm and what can be innovation in such context. And of course, we have the assessment for learning as opposed to assessment of learning that is catching up, and the different alternative assessments that are available to us, particularly in the context of online teaching. And innovation in that context has definitely been some of the alternative assessment practices that we were introduced to. One of my favorite is the last one over here, reflective logs, something that I give to my students post this session, where I just ask them 3 questions. What did you learn? I mean, what did you already know? What did you learn? And how can you apply this in your day-to-day activities, whatever context it may be? So at IIM Visakhapatnam, I teach management communication. So there are different concepts of different presentation skills that we talk about, or writing different types of messages, whether they are good news, bad news, or neutral messages. So what are the contexts in which they can apply? And I find that there are interesting responses that I get as that students submit for the reflective logs. And yes, there are different innovations, particularly 10, which British Council are available on the British Council portal, the Voices magazine, that talk about the 10 innovations that changed English language teaching. So, and I'm sure most of you know sorry about the transitions effect there, just slow down the whole slide that have come up. Right. So yes, the digital platforms, the online corpora, which was initially a luxury to for specific researchers, we have access to them. So I'll just share with you the link for you to read them. So I will not be talking about them in detail. Yeah, okay, let's see. So this link particularly has some more information on, yeah, yes, on what are the different innovations that have particularly changed language teaching, English language teaching. So on that note, and taking a cue from Remember to Dream, Ebera, we are the masters of our own imagination or the ships that, the spaceships that we travel. So it's up to us which direction we choose, which dimension in particular, whether it's the teacher or the materials or the delivery method that we choose to change. So on that note, I would like to conclude my discussion, more of a discussion and less of a talk. If there are any questions, I'll take them.
Sister Lata, will you take over? Sister Lata? Sister?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. So, ask Sunitha. Or you can write it in the chat box. If you have any questions, you can write it in the chat box. Are there any questions?
Excuse me, ma'am, can I ask?
I think we can.
Yes, please.
I think Dr. Sunitha is more clear so that we don't have any questions.
Ma'am, I want to ask something.
Yes.
So can we wind up now?
I think Shweta has.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, sister. So, ma'am, first of all, many congratulations for the informative talk. Ma'am, I want to ask one thing. Suppose, ma'am, we have, I'm asking about my department. I work in Bangalore and autonomous institutions only. Ma'am, there are a set of people like youngsters are there who can use or who are ready to use the technology well. But there are teachers who don't want to do the experimentations and all. So how we can include them? Like the relevant sites that you have shared, it's really a like amazing thing that I came across. But how to make them more enthusiastic about using all these tools that is available?
Well, I'm not sure if I am. If I can give you a definitive answer for that as to how do you make teachers use some of these resources, it is. I think it's more of a voluntary basis, and for every teacher who wants to bring in, like I said at the beginning of this discussion, it is not technology that I am referring to as innovation. It is the engagement plus or minus technology that I'm referring to, or is my understanding of innovation. So if somebody really wants to engage their students, and if a student engagement is what somebody is aiming for, in that context, I think every teacher will make progress towards adopting some of the resources, just to break that monotony of the classroom. So I cannot give you a definite answer as to how do you make teachers use these. Possibly like you liked, I'm not sure, and that's the reason why I didn't bombard you with the different resources for each of the different components that I was looking at. I presented you what I use and what I found to be more relevant to my learners. I mean, I've taught in the primary education sector, and also in the current role I'm teaching for adult learners. So what I presented to you is what I liked, and of course there is a definite hope that you will be able to pick up some of these, because there are thousands of materials out there, teacher created and learner created. So possibly some amount of encouragement, but then encouragement that comes in the form of engagement can be the driving force, engagement of learners.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Dr. Sunitha, you have another question. I think it is posted in the chat box. How do you guide a rural learner adapt a new technology? It seems.
Again, I think my answer stems from the same explanation that I was trying to arrive at. If you want a certain level of engagement, if you want to break that monotony, then and I see a lot of some of my relatives are English language teachers, and they teach in the rural areas, and they whenever I tell them about a particular app, just go ahead and try this in classroom, they say, okay, this worked and this didn't work. So again, it is something that I cannot prescribe. We have this descriptivism and prescriptivism in the context of grammar learning. So I strongly believe that it cannot be prescriptivism in the context of innovation or getting a rural learner to use something. And possibly the whole hole in the wall experiment was one of the examples where they motivated the learners to use computers, for that matter. So maybe introducing them to different games, particularly young learners, for that matter, the different game-based language learning possibly can interest them and draw them into using these different apps, and they're already into playing different games. So I think game-based learning can have some solutions.
Ma'am, there is another question from K. Soni Glory, that can you suggest any online courses for engineering students?
I don't think I can. But there are a lot of courses, particularly, I'm not, like I said, I'm not marketing any particular portal, be it Swayam or the Future Learn that I was referring to. But then the number of courses that are out there, even for language learning or business communication in particular, even on Swayam for that matter. And I'm talking based on what I have grown to know and what I have used. So there are different courses on Swayam too on business communication. So I can talk for the subjects that I have dealt with. So for engineering students, yes, they can explore, and different portals have Udemy or Future Learn for that matter, or Coursera. But then there is an inherent problem with these massive online open courses where you register, but you do not see, you do not complete the end of, complete the course in its entirety. So that again is an issue.
There is another participant who asked the question to suggest some apps for learning, I think.
Suggest some apps for learning. I don't know if I can suggest some apps, because if you go to the Play Store and just type dictionary or English or fluency, you get thousands of apps coming up. And but then in particular, this is something that I liked, BBC 1 Minute English. So wherein they try to talk about the difference, the subtle differences between maybe and maybe. Some of the examples which teachers or learners for that matter, you can just ask them to spend a minute on this particular portal, BBC 1 Minute English. So I found it interesting because everybody is hard pressed for them, everybody is busy. So maybe that distinction possibly can help them build their lexicon.
Ma'am, I'm Surya from Doha speaking. I have been listening to your lecture, and I have a small query. Like earlier too, I asked the question, but now I have another one regarding a class where we find like from various backgrounds, especially a non-native English learner and a fluent English learner. Now, when there is such kind of classroom, how to manage among the, fluent speaking language learner and very rural, the kid who is not very fluent as well, from very rural background. So how to manage between the both, the classroom atmosphere? Technological, I mean, with technical aids, especially with technical aids.
Absolutely. Like some of the links that I showed you in particular have the different levels starting from A1 to C2. Right. So for different levels of learners, you may want to recommend different learning resources. However, they may not, particularly at learners at the primary level, for that matter, they may not be inherently be motivated to use different applications. But then something that something that was done in our classes when I was a student was to group students based on their ability and possibly have somebody try to bring in peer learning in that context. Again, like I said, I may not have all the answers. Like you, even I too have heterogeneous. Yes, I too have heterogeneous mix of learners, right? So it is, and it is a reality that we cannot run away from as teachers. And I sometimes feel I see it as a privilege that you have learners from different backgrounds, and you're trying to. And what I strongly believe is that the ones who are really good, the ones who are on the intermediate level of proficiency, for that matter, they somehow get through. It is the learners who are at the beginners at the beginning level, the basic level, sorry, who need that kind of help. And I strongly believe that, if we are able to address their needs, then I mean, I would have done my job better than the ones who could have done well even without my intervention.
Yes, ma'am. Particularly in engineering colleges, we got such structure. Most of the students, like either from Vijayanagaram, like rural background, and as well from Visakhapatnam. Visakhapatnam city kids were like very much fluent and good at English. Mostly, maximum we found like that. I do not say all of them. Whereas from little rural background, kids were like a little low, and there was a troublesome that technical knowledge was again from the point one we have to teach, and the one who already learned felt boring the class. Obviously, because he knows it, he is having like a repetition of something known. So this was a big challenge for us, and I hope maybe coming technology might differentiate all that and help us. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your views also.
Yes, I mean, they hope to, I hope the same thing too, possibly some solutions. Like I said, I am again on the same continuum at some point in trying to understand or trying to fit in innovation or innovative ways of making my classes more engaging.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Surya.
Thank you, Dr. Sunitha. I think you have efficiently answered all the questions. I think I'm sure that the participants have no questions. So we will move on to the next one. Out of thanks, I take this opportunity to thank Dr. T. Sunitha for enlightening us with your knowledge. You had indeed taken us back to move forward. Indeed, your discussion, as you call it, is innovative. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Sunitha, ma'am. And then I would like to express my thanks to all the honored guest speakers of the week, the members of English Language Teachers Association of India, Visakhapatnam chapter. Last but not the least, I extend my thanks to all the participants for your active participations. Thank you and see you tomorrow. And please do not forget to fill the attendance cum feedback form.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sunitha. It was really wonderful listening to you. I was so impressed, and the way you were trying to engage the virtual audience. I know it's a tough job, but you were
It's
really
very
splendid.
professional.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sunitha. a
Thank you.
pleasure listening to you.
You're welcome.
If I can ask the participants to be there just to switch on your videos so that
Yes,
we
yes.
have,
And Sunitha has left.
she's there, I suppose. Maybe she must have left, yeah. Please switch on your videos, at least we'll have a one or two. Yeah, the others. Yes, thank you so much. Please put your best smile. Like to see your best smile. Lovely. One more. One more. Yeah, I can see more people switching on their videos and showing their very smart and beautiful faces. Thank you very much. One more. One more, maybe. Yeah, thank you. See you tomorrow.
Dear participants, tomorrow sharp by 5:45, please log in. We will start the session at 6. 6 to 7, we will finish the, because we have seen in the chat and some of you were requesting to finish it and to wind up before 7. So definitely we'll try our best. Okay. Thank you, dear participants, for joining. See you tomorrow by 5:45.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, once again.
Bye bye. Thank you.
For connecting with wonderful session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. From Zambia.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yes.
From Zambia.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
He's from Zambia.
Thank you, Dr. Stanley.
Stanley.
So good.
He's from Zambia.
Correct.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, we love India. You're doing a job. You are doing a great job in it.
Thank you.
And learn more about linguistics in linguistics.
Okay.
Maybe before you go, ma'am, masters in English.
Your question was not very clear. Your query was not very clear, Dr. Stanley. Could you repeat?
So, do you offer Master of Arts in Linguistics?
Your voice?
Yes. Ma'am, he wants MA Linguistics. He wants to do MA Linguistics in India. So he's asking which university will provide full percent of scholarship.
Dr. Sudha will do a research and she'll probably tell you by tomorrow, Dr. Stanley. Dr. Bhaskar Sudha will do some research and she'll tell you, right? Okay, so we catch you again tomorrow. Have a good night. Have a nice day. See you tomorrow.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Ramni ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you.